Donald Trump is taking center stage once more, but not for his tweets, policies, or speeches. For a record no other former U.S. president holds. Trump, the first former president in American history to be charged with either state or federal crimes, is now facing 4 separate indictments within less than 5 months, 2 at the state level and 2 at the federal level. At 77 years of age, Trump's on a ticking clock. Many of the charges carry hefty prison sentences of 10 to 20 years if convicted, which means he could spend the rest of his life in prison if found guilty of one or more of the charges.
Now the former president's facing 91 charges, and if you add up all the years together, and he was convicted of everything, it's hundreds of years.
That's right, 91. Donald Trump has 91 charges against him, spread out across 4 different indictments. But don't worry, we're here to help you understand each one. In today's video, I want to quickly bring you up to speed with the charges and briefly touch on where this may go from here. To be clear, I'm politically agnostic, and if you hate Trump or you love Trump, you won't get much cheerleading from me on either side. The goal of this video is simply to give you a quick understanding of what Trump is up against and the possible ways he might be able to wiggle his way out of it. Let's dive in. Let's start off with the first indictment, the Manhattan hush money probe. This indictment pertains to business fraud charges with the Supreme Court of the state of New York. Michael Cohen, Trump's former lawyer, paid $130,000 to adult film star Stormy Daniels in 2016. Some say it was to keep her quiet about an alleged affair with Trump. However, Trump has firmly denied these allegations. But the main concern here is not the affair. Turns out that this payment was documented. It was recorded as a legal expense, raising eyebrows in New York's legal corridors. Prospectors believe these were unlawfully depicted as legal costs. Fast forward to March of 2023, and Trump faces 34 charges of falsifying business records. 1 month later, in April, he decides to stand his ground, and he says he's firmly not guilty. This case is scheduled to head to trial in March of 2024. Now let's move on to the second indictment, the special counsel's Mar-a-Lago documents case. The indictment alleges that Trump kept classified documents after leaving the White House. These documents were reportedly stored in various locations at the Mar-a-Lago Club, which is a Trump-owned luxury resort in Palm Beach. In total, there are 40 charges against Trump here. The gravity of these charges revolve around the potential endangerment of national security. The documents in question cover a range of topics from U.S. nuclear programs to defense capabilities and potential responses to attacks. The special counsel in charge of this case, Jack Smith, was appointed in November to oversee 2 Justice Department's criminal investigations into Trump. The indictment accuses Trump of various charges, including obstructing justice and making false statements. In response, Trump has defended his actions, suggesting handling of classified information was appropriate. He also pointed out what he believes to be political bias on Smith's part. The initial indictment was filed on June 8th, with a superseding indictment returned on July 27th. Trump, as well as the co-defendants, have entered a plea of not guilty, and the trial has been scheduled for May of 2024. Now, let's look into the third indictment, the 2020 election interference case. The case is being held at the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C., and it revolves around accusations against Trump and 6 unnamed co-conspirators. It's alleged that they knowingly spread misinformation that the 2020 election, which Trump lost to now President Joe Biden, was fraudulent and that Trump had in fact won. These allegations claim that these misrepresentations led to the events of January 6, 2021, when the Capitol was attacked. Special counsel Jack Smith emphasized the severity of the attack on January 6, describing it as an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy, fueled by lies. In response, Trump has strongly denied all allegations of wrongdoing. He expressed his sentiments on his social media site, Truth Social, questioning the timing of the case, especially with its proximity to his campaign. Trump was indicted in this case on August 1st of 2023 and later arraigned on August 3rd of 2023, where he entered a plea of not guilty. The trial has been scheduled for March 4th, 2024. However, Trump has voiced his concerns about the likelihood of receiving a fair trial in Washington, which leans Democratic. Whether a change of venue request will be approved remains to be seen. And lastly, his fourth indictment, the election interference case in Fulton County, Georgia. Trump, along with 18 others, stands accused under Georgia's RICO Act, which stands for Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations. The charge alleges an effort to hinder the proper certification of Georgia's 2020 presidential election won by Joe Biden. The root of this investigation can be traced back to a recorded phone call on January 2nd, 2021, where Trump asked Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, to find 11,780 votes.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
Trump has denied these allegations. The indictment contains a total of 13 charges against Trump. These include various counts such as solicitation of a violation of oath, conspiracy to commit forgery, and violation of the Georgia RICO Act, among others. The indictment also details multiple alleged schemes by Trump and his associates to reverse the election's results. These schemes range from making false statements to state officials, creating counterfeit electoral college documents, to soliciting senior Justice Department officials. The indictment, spanning 98 pages, outlines 41 counts in total, with 13 specifically against Trump. Notably, it mentions 30 unindicted co-conspirators. If convicted of the racketeering charge, potential penalties for Trump and his co-defendants could range from 5 to 20 years in prison. As of right now, Trump has 3 trial dates set. 2 of them are said to start in March of 2024, with the other one starting a couple of months later. Now, the trial that many of us have our eyes on is the Georgia one, where prosecutors say that they want to get started in October, but the judge is saying he thinks that that's probably unrealistic. The reason that the Georgia one is so fascinating is because it's a little bit more serious than the Stormy Daniels case, and a presidential pardon doesn't really come to factor in. That being said, whenever President Biden has been asked about the possibility of pardoning Donald Trump, he generally laughs it off or says he's committed to not pardoning the great Donald.
The idea of presidents pardoning Trump.
The first scenario here is that Trump could delay the cases. And this is important because it could get the cases past the 2024 US presidential election, where if Trump either takes control or one of his allies take control of the Justice Department, they could easily overturn the case. Now, the possibility of Trump pardoning himself if he wins is truly unprecedented. Secondly, Trump can fight the evidence by challenging its validity. He might argue certain evidence, like notes from his lawyer, are inadmissible. His team may argue about prosecutorial misconduct. Additionally, they might claim that as president, he had the right to declassify documents, making any documents that were taken from the White House unclassified. Thirdly, let's talk about the documents case. He has a judge that could prove to be on his side. Judge Eileen Cannon, appointed by Trump, could be favorable. Judges can determine what evidence jurors see and dismiss certain jurors, declare a mistrial, or even end the trial and acquit the accused. Known as a Rule 29 motion, a judge can toss a case for insufficient evidence at various trial points. Something that could come in handy for Trump, given that he got Judge Eileen Cannon her role. And lastly, we have the jury. The prosecution needs a unanimous decision of 12 jurors to convict Trump, but Trump only needs 1 juror to be on his side. Just 1 juror believing in Trump's innocence can cause a mistrial. Given Trump's polarizing figure, finding 12 impartial jurors is going to be a challenge for the prosecution. Here we've highlighted at least 4 cases of legal criminal charges against former President Donald Trump. In addition to that, Trump is facing various civil cases as we speak. Perhaps Trump's number 1 chance of walking away from all this scotch clean would be to win the presidential election. And as it stands today, he's doing quite well in the polls, with many of the polls showing Trump as a favorite for getting reelected. It wouldn't be too much of a stretch to assume the anti-establishment president that he is will only have more fuel to his screw the system fire with all these charges against him. And he's going to play this card, and quite frankly, he already is. In fact, he went back to Twitter for the first time in years just to show his mugshot along with a link asking for donations. But let's go down the opposite path for a second. In the event that Trump isn't elected and does end up in prison, one can only assume that it's going to take the US political system down a nasty path, where all future presidents are going to have to be looking over their backs constantly after their term is up. So guys, we just recently launched this channel and we noticed that 99.9% of our viewers are not subscribed. So if you enjoyed this video, we need your help in growing this channel. By subscribing, that would help us keep the lights on and make sure that our crews have jobs in these uncertain times. So please hit that subscribe button, and we promise to make more quality videos that I'm sure you're going to love.